everyone, and welcome to the StarCityGames.com Las Vegas Open Finale. We are in our finals here, folks, where we're going to watch Boros Aggro do battle here against Selesnya Tokens in the standard portion of our team-constructed Open. Our final match, good sportsmanship here from the teams as they will shake hands. It's been a long weekend for everybody, but it's been a fun one. And we're going to watch Marcus start things off here with Legion's landing off of just a basic Plains as we head back over to Zachary Kiihne. Both of these decks, white-based aggressive decks. I'd say Kiihne's a bit more mid-range here, where Marcus's certainly is not as he comes across for one. The follow-up is that Leonin. Marcus's deck doesn't have a ton of lands in it. 20 to be exact. I've only found one so far, as there's an Adanto Vanguard, a card that's pretty good in the format, but not great in the matchup, as there's an Ajani's Pridemate. Trigger, a little bit of life gain, which means the Pridemate will get a little bit bigger, and now here are some attacks. That's a block. Gain a life.
I'm surprised here with Thibeau missing his second land drop there early on in the game, that you wouldn't want to wait one more turn before tendering that attack to try to get the Legion's landing flipped over. Seems so good for him if he gets to land number 3. His hand's just all gas.
A Plains there from Kiihne. It's got his third land. You already see the Sun Petal Grove in hand, so that's a fourth land. I am a little surprised too. I guess I don't quite understand what the rush is.
Yep.
Because now you're missing out on the ability to transform the Legion's landing next turn. Now here's, there's a Conclave Tribunal. That's actually the proxied one, so I'm glad I brought that up before the match. Otherwise, that would look real awkward.
Well, I think the reason, from Thibeau's perspective, to do that is if you think that the 1/1's just going to be no good in combat next turn.
That's a lot of those Legion landings. It is a legendary enchantment. More life gain, which is what this deck is really built around, to make the Pridemate a real card. Adanto Vanguard's such a fascinating card to me because it's pretty bad in these kind of matchups, but it's good in a lot of other places.
Yep. I mean, it's good on offense but blockable, and ostensibly good on defense but pricey and sometimes ineffectual.
There's Leonin Vanguard. Not something you see in every Boros aggro deck, but this build of it you certainly do. At the beginning of combat of your turn, if you control 3 or more creatures, Leonin Vanguard gets +1/+1 until end of turn, and you gain 1 life, which of course helps with Ajani's Pridemate, and actually it getting bigger probably doesn't hurt in some matchups.
No, I think in the mirror or similar decks, you run into 1/1s quite a bit, so I don't think the pump is for nothing.
There's land 3. All right. So that is a Venerated Loxodon, which is going to grow these creatures. At the beginning of combat, +1/+1, gain life, pass turn back. Back over to Kiihne, who has drawn a Legion's Landing. Looks like that's going to be the play this turn, with a little bit of flourish. Five mana, looks like it's going to be another Venerated Loxodon, which means these creatures get a little bit bigger. Yep. And then 2 4/4s back on defense. So.
Yep, hoping the Loxodons can hold off enough of the offense here to try to turn the creatures used to convoke into real defensive tools the following turn.
Mm-hmm. Kind of unique gameplay. Benalish Marshal. Okay.
Just send it in. Just ship it all in.
Well, you asked for it, you got it. I mean, I'm on board.
Yeah.
I'm on board. Marcus's Venerated Loxodon's a 5/5. It's going to beat the other ones in combat. The other creatures are just 3/3s. I guess the Leonin will actually turn to a 4/4.
Right. Well, yeah, it's you may not want to send the other token because I think it just blocks on both the tokens is too good for Kiihne here. So swallow up one if you want to, and then you got to trade off or chump otherwise.
Yep. Yeah, I like this attack.
Yeah. I guess the alternative block now is double block on the Venerated Loxodon, which is what Kiihne decides to do here.
Okay. So they'll trade. Some damage will get through. Odonto's on the battlefield. Pass the turn back. We'll let you know that Cyrus, Corman, Gill won game number 1 very quickly against Casey Lancaster. Storm versus Lands. We have a feeling our Storm player is going to win that one, especially on the play.
I'm actually surprised game 1 took as long as it did in terms of minutes spent.
Sure. Oh, there you go. A nice new Conclave Tribunal. History of Benalia. 2-2 Vigilant Knight there. Pass turn back. Let's head it back over to Marcus.
This is my concern about the build, with Venerated Loxodon here from the Boros aggro side is I think that even if he spends time growing his creatures, that's unlikely to be good enough. I think he needs to be just pedal to the metal as much as possible because he's not going to be able to outsize Kiihne on the battlefield if the game bogs down at all.
Well, the longer it goes, the worse it is.
Yeah.
Right? Unless there's a flyer involved, and as you mentioned at the top, there's just not that many flyers involved in the deck.
Yeah, it's a much lighter build here. And now it's, Thibeau's start was pretty explosive. I mean, he missed the second land drop there, but otherwise he's been humming. Attacking every turn. Kiihne's had to take some lumps here, sitting back on defense, trying to set up blockers for following turns. And now we're here, and it's like, can Thibeau get through the last 4 points? It's not totally clear.
Mm-hmm. That makes you wonder, does Marcus have a Healer's Hawk or anything? Now, there's a History of Benalia, so that's something to set up and work towards, I suppose. But, if we're talking about Chapter 3 on that, that's 2 more turns for Kiihne to do stuff.
Right.
And now there's a Skymarch Aspirant. Well, that's okay.
That's the trick here is getting a flyer. And I believe he has a City's Blessing. 4 lands and
a whole bunch of knuckleheads.
Yeah, he should be good on that.
And now it looks like we're convoking. Trying to figure out what to convoke with, but it looks like there's some convoking to be done.
Yeah, I would prefer, if possible, not to leave back in such a way that it's... Oh, never mind. It's a Conclave Tribunal. Okay.
Get back a Johnny's Pridemate. Okay. Trigger, which will grow the Pridemate here.
I suppose what I like about this line from Thibeau, not that I'm super enamored with, getting back your Pridemate when the ground is this locked up, is trying to make it so there's no profitable attacks to be making with the Vampire, because Kiihne's going to need to cash that in for some life to survive combat, either the following turn or the turn after, and you don't want that to trade profitably or get an opportunity to attack a second time. So leaving it back as a 4-4 on defense makes it really hard for Kiihne to do anything with it other than chump attack next turn.
Well, History of Benalia is going to generate another token here. Thibeau will draw a card. Now, it looks like he's able to deal 3? Am I looking at that right?
Yeah, I think it's just the Marshal and the Flyer. That's the only... I mean, he can get really ambitious and try to attack with a bunch, but I would not.
No, I'm curious. Is it a March? Yeah, so it's a March. And I think he's got March plus Flourish.
Yeah, and that's a huge swing. Goes without saying. That is a huge swing.
Now, I think I might be incorrect about that, because I think what might be happening here is he's missing the 6th land. Now, this creates white soldier tokens, so History of Benalia is not going to positively interact here. But that is March of the Multitudes. Very powerful mythic rare. A card you actually felt when it was previewed was really, really good.
Yeah, I think people just underestimate X-Spells because they sort of think about the game in idealized terms, and the idea of, oh, what if I flood out, is not something that is on people's radars.
Mm-hmm. Here's an attack for 4.
So I think the goal here is to gain enough life to survive combat on the way back, and then hopefully you can flourish and gain a ton and maybe make some inroads on the battlefield. I think it's going to be really hard to do that, especially with Thibeau at 31. He can afford to allow a lot of it to come through.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting because all it takes is one more spell. assuming Kiihne's life total is correct, he's at 1. He's going to go up to 4, it looks like. So all it takes is one more. Maybe another Benalis Marshal, some sort of +1/+1 effect for Sky Marcher Aspirant to get the game over with. But we'll see. Sapling Migration. Venerator locks it on right now in Kiihne's hand. He'd like to just use 5 creatures to do it. The big thing that he wanted is he just needs land 6 for the Flourish. There you go. So those soldiers get +1/+1. So can Marcus get that last point of damage through?
You'd love to finish it off here if you could.
No kidding.
Coast is clear, and you'd prefer not to play another turn, because if you play another turn, you're probably playing 2 or 3 more turns with all the life Kiihne gains on the way back.
Kiihne last turn had to make an attack that he wasn't in love with.
Just need a little bit of cushion to survive the Aspirant attack.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't look like Marcus drew a way to pump up the Sky Marcher.
I think he's looking to see if there are any other attacks to really be had here. I think the answer is no.
I suppose the Vigilance attackers are sort of free
No,
from
well,
History Beyond, but also not really.
right. There's so much in the way of front-loaded costs for Thibeau to attack on the ground, because the Venerated Loxodons get to swallow, and the other tokens get to chump block or stack up and gain some life for their trouble. So it's really hard to imagine what an attack on the ground looks like that's profitable for Thibeau when it's this gummy. I mean, there's no trample. Kiihne has a lot of tokens to work with, so I just don't really see any sort of attack on the ground being profitable. And there's incentives on the way back, too. You know, you could probably safely attack with the Ajani's Pridemate, but is that, getting chumped by one of those creatures, is that better than being able to block anything on the way back? Probably not, so you might as well hang back.
All right, transforming after attacking.
That gets him to mana number 6.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like barely staying alive here, Zachary Kiihne, but then a big, big swing will probably happen.
Yeah, but it's a bummer here for Kiihne to have to send in 3 tokens into the Abyss here to try to get his card transformed.
Mm-hmm.
But it is what it is. He's got to survive combat next turn to have any shot at it.
So his life totals go up and down and all around, but the only he's got to do here is Zach Kiihne is his life total will change. There's Sapling Migration. There is the Benalis Marshal, but Kiihne's at 6 now, not 4.
Yeah, same setup as before. I just don't think it's that profitable to be attacking on the ground. I guess the argument now for attacking on the ground is if the card I'm worried about is Flourish, it's probably better for me to get some chump blocks here than try to defend myself the following turn.
Yep. I think that's what we're seeing. And also, if you're Marcus, you just get to kind of attack recklessly here because your creatures are just bigger.
It's hard for it to go bad.
Yeah.
You're either getting chumps or you're trading off with substantive creatures like the Loxodons.
Mm-hmm. I like the Benalis Marshals just hanging back on defense. Obviously, there are some cards that are clearly lethal here, like a Johnny's Pridemate. I think Thibeau has played a pretty nice game here so far.
And it's nice, too, because you got your Benalis Marshals that are 4/4s back on defense. And any action that Kiihne wants to take is going to turn his tokens into 3/3s. So you got a lot of safe blocks on the way back, too.
There's a bunch of blocking and exchanging.
Yep. So this is going to take out a lot of the wind out of the sails of Flourish next turn. You can see that now we can actually make sense of the board state. That's how much attritioning and trading off has occurred.
Yeah, no kidding. There's Flower Flourish, but I don't think it's going to be enough to get the job done. And it looks like Zachary King is going to concede this game, as Marcus Thibeau is going to win game number 1 here with Boros Aggro over Zachary Kiihne and his Selesnya token stack. Just wasn't quite enough, and you saw some of the power of the flyers there for Marcus Thibeau. As we take a look at the sideboards, we've seen Kiihne sideboard so many times this weekend. One last time doesn't hurt. 4 Noahide Ferox, 3 Baffling End, 3 Knight of Autumn, 2 Vivian Reed, 2 Cruel Harpooner, and a copy of the Immortal Sun.
I like the Baffling Ends. That's about it.
I like additional
The Harpooner.
stuff
Actually, the Harpooner. There's enough flying here, I think, for to get busy with that.
I'm into the Harpooner. I also like the Immortal Sun, too, if you can get to it.
6 is just...
It's
okay.
a one of.
Okay.
It's a one of.
It's a fun of.
Even better.
It's a fun of.
Tactile Honor Guard, Baffling End, Experimental Frenzies are all 3 ofs, along with Aurelia. Exemplar of Justice is a 2 of. A Johnny, Adversary of Tyrants is a 2 of. I like the Mountain and the Banefire.
So I'm really interested in Baffling End and Aurelia. That's the top of the list.
Okay.
Experimental Frenzy, if you think the game's going to really drag or gum down more post-board, I'm not necessarily sure that's going to be the case. I could see being talked into that too. But I think it's still good for Thibeau to just try to be as aggressive as possible. And Aurelia, Baffling End, some removal, and a flyer that's not the easiest thing for Kiihne to manage.
All right, fair enough. Those are the options there for both players. You see Bant Spirits and Dredge are still going at it right now. So let's turn our attention to that cube draft that we've talked about a couple of times that's taking place at SCGCon Winter. For you cube fans out there, I'm sure you've always wanted to play in a real cube tournament that's fully powered with real cash prizes. Well, we'll have that there at SCGCon. 8 qualified players will booster draft a fully powered 360-card cube designed by Star City's own Justin Parnell of Commander vs. Fame. $10,000 in cash prizes. Best of all, there's going to be live coverage of this tournament. Those qualifiers will take place all weekend long at SCGCon, so find the one that's best for you. We'll have them across multiple formats. You can find all that information over at starcitygames.com/SCGCon, and because this cube is 360 cards, we're going to draft them all.
All of them.
We're going to open them all.
Everything.
Black Lotus, Mox Jet,
Mox Ruby.
Ancestral Recall, Time Twister that you'll probably pass.
Plateau.
Why did you mention that one?
Just it's got the cool art.
For your mono red maniacs out there, I wonder if there's a mono red.
Plateau
deck
suggests
in
a
this
second color.
That's true. Red splash white or vice versa.
Mox Ruby.
Yeah.
Granite Gargoyle. Probably not. Probably not.
Granite Gargoyle.
Sedge Troll. Let's go with Sedge Troll.
I
Bad lands in Sedge Troll.
Did you have a conversation with Justin I don't know about for this cube design?
I have not.
Okay.
I wouldn't even call these suggestions necessarily. Just hopes.
Okay.
Dreams and wishes.
StarCityGames.com/SCGCon. Registration is now open. You can register for our cube qualifiers to qualify for that cube draft. But be sure to check back often because we are going to have more announcements, like the fact that if you do win the Invitational, you qualify for Pro Tour Cleveland as well. December 7th through the 9th at the Berglund Center in Roanoke, Virginia. Going to be a good time that weekend. And do keep in mind that tomorrow, it looks like Justin Parnell's total breakdown of the cube and all the contents will be going live on the select side of Star City Games.
The full breakdown.
As well.
The vision, the strategy.
Break it down. There he is.
Yeah.
Old Seji.
Yeah, you got the right art, too. Right frame, right border, all of it.
Thing is hideous.
Troll gains +1/+1 if controller has any swamps in play. No line break, just separate power. Regenerates for a black.
That is just a hideous magic card.
Combo with Badlands. It's like Curdape. It's a precursor to Curdape.
Mm-hmm. I dig it.
Sweet. This is Badlands. It's good with Central. And other cards.
You're a heck of a deck builder.
I know. Been at it for a long time.
You really can't get anything by you as far as combinations are concerned.
That is why I'm here.
We got updates here for you. The number 1 overall seed, they all won game number 1. They are in the driver's seat. It's almost like seeding matters.
Yeah, like trying to play for the first seed is... All right, well, the draw Being on the draw, not a problem either.
And now I'm being informed that Cyrus won Legacy 2-0. So we got one more to go. One more to go, looks like. We're underway. Our modern match is on pause. We turn our attention here. Healer's Hawk versus Amara. We don't want to see someone win the tournament and not have it be on camera. So if Marcus wins this game, boom, boom, tournament over.
Yep.
Champs are here. Healer's Hawk coming across for one. Looks like it's 21-19 in favor of Marcus Thibeau. That is a history of Benalia. 2-2 Vigilant Knight token, and we're heading back over to Marcus. And there's the Honor Guard. Sacred Foundry tapped, in for one. History of Benalia. Make another token. How about another History of Benalia? Now, we have seen starts like this be very, very good.
Yep, race is on.
Mm-hmm.
And actually really nice for the bow that he started off with the Healer's Hawk. Get a little cushion.
There's land 4. Let's see what this is.
Is it Aurelia? Yeah.
Yep. In there. It's got Vigilance and +2/+0 now.
And it can also block on the Aurelia could block on the way back too through Chapter 3.
Yeah, since it's a 2/5.
Yep.
That's pretty big.
It's the right numbers.
Be pretty big here for Kiihne to have a Conclave Tribunal.
I mean, yeah, if he can't get the Aurelia off the table, I don't see him winning a race.
8 damage is going to be dealt. Now, it is worth noting that Aurelia does not kill one of those tokens.
But it's, you know, it will kill next turn, you know.
There's a Venerated locks it on.
Honor Guard got that on lock.
Doesn't do much of anything. Beatdowns. Mentor trigger, all that jazz.
Mwah.
Aurelia looking good here. A lot of the time, these white-based aggro decks, there's another Healer's Hawk. Now, it's just going to dump some Knuckleheads out here. Quick count. Play a land for the turn. Yes, City's Blessing, all that jazz. A lot of the time, when a player starts off with, especially on the play, in a History of Benalia, that game normally just ends. And that hand of 2 Knight of Autumns and a Tristani is beat easily by Marcus and that Honor Guard. And Cyrus, Corman, Gill, Jonathan Zhang, and Marcus Thibeau are going to win this game and match, and they are pretty pumped up about it. They are your SCG Las Vegas Open champions. Congratulations.